All right, so when we talked about imaginary numbers yesterday, they're considered pure imaginary numbers, and so we got things like 2i or negative 5i or something like that. Today, they're gonna be complex numbers, not because they're complicated, just because there's going to be two terms. And so, complex number is a number written in the form a plus bi. Where A is called the real part, so it doesn't have the I with it, and BI is called the imaginary part. Right, and some examples of complex numbers are something like 2 plus 3i, or negative 4 plus 5i, or negative 6 minus 4i. Those are all considered complex numbers. They have a real part and an imaginary part. Okay, so the three operations we're going to do with complex numbers are add, subtract, and multiply them. So I didn't realize this until after my last class was doing their assignment. But whenever there's addition or subtraction between the parentheses, you don't multiply. So we are going to do some multiplying ones once we get down to number 5. But these top 4 are addition or subtraction. And we're just going to add or subtract like terms basically. So we're going to add or subtract the real parts and add or subtract the imaginary parts. So for number 1, this is addition because there's a plus sign in between. So we're going to add negative 11 plus 9, and that's just going to be negative 2. And then we're going to add 3i and 2i, so that should be plus 5i. And that's it for addition. Just add, basically, you just add like terms. All right. Number 2, because there's a plus sign in between the parentheses, this is just an addition problem where we're going to add the real parts. So we're going to add 4 plus 7 is 11. And then we'll add the imaginary parts. So maybe like 1i minus 5i, which should that be? Negative 4i. Very good. Okay, so if there's a plus sign between the parentheses, it's really no big deal. You're just adding like terms. Now, a minus sign, there's a little extra you have to worry about. So number 3 is subtraction, and I would suggest that you distribute the negative. That's what I would do. You're less likely to make a mistake if you distribute the negative. So what's in front of the minus, we're not going to change. We're just going to leave that 7 minus 2i. But then what's after the minus sign, we would change both of those signs. So we would make it minus 2 minus 6i. That way you make sure you subtract both of the terms. Right. And now it's just like the other two that we did. We're going to combine the real parts together. So 7 minus 2. And then combine the imaginary parts. Negative 2i minus 6i is negative 8i. All right. Number 4's got a little extra. We've got a combination of subtraction and addition. I'm going to do the same thing with the complex number that's after the minus sign. I'm going to distribute that negative. So 6i stays just like it looks. And then it changes to minus 14 plus I. So you're just changing both of those signs. Do I need to change anything in this parentheses? These parentheses? No. Good. Since there's a plus, we just drop it down like it looks. Right. And then we're going to combine the real part first. So negative 14 plus 9, negative 14 plus 5 is negative 9. And then 6i plus 1i minus 3i is plus 4i. Right. So that should kind of feel familiar, like what you used to do when it was x's. So you can't, when you're adding and subtracting, you just kind of treat I like it's an x. When you're multiplying, though, it's a little more complicated. Do you guys remember what I squared equals from yesterday? Negative 1. So when you're multiplying, most of the time you're going to get an I squared. And so anytime we have I squared, we're going to change it to negative 1. Okay. So because there's no addition or subtraction between our parentheses, this is an actual multiplication problem where we're going to distribute 2i. So we're going to do 2i times 8 is going to be 16i. And then 2i times negative 3i is negative 6i squared. Right. So what is negative 6i squared really just going to be? I squared is negative 1. So what would negative 6i squared be? Positive 6. So you're multiplying those together. So just like yesterday, the I squared is just going to change the sign of the number in front of it and then just disappear. All right, so I'm going to write that part first because it tells you that the final answers must be in A plus BI form. So the real part is going to be first, and then the imaginary part is going to be second. Right. Now number 6 is very similar to that one. So we're just going to distribute negative I. So negative I times negative 2 is positive 2i. And then negative I times 10i is negative 10i squared. Right. And now what should negative 10i squared be? Positive 10. And we're going to write it first because we write the real part first and the imaginary part second. All right. So what questions do you guys have? Sorry. What questions do you guys have about those two? Because you kind of need to understand those before we move on to the next. Plus 2. Okay. These two, they're going to be very similar, but you're going to have to do double distributive. So on number 7, we're going to start off by distributing the 7. So you do 7 times 4, and then 7 times negative I. Right? And then you're going to distribute the I. So I times 4 is 4i. And then I times negative I is negative I squared. All right. Then I'll go ahead and add my like terms. I'm going to add those i's together. Negative 7i plus 4i is negative 3i. Okay, and anytime we have an I squared, we have to change it to negative 1. So what is negative I squared going to change to? If I squared is negative 1, what should negative I squared be? Positive 1. Good.
So you subtract the two i's?
Yes. All right, and then negative I squared is 1. And then now I would add 28 and 1 and get 29, and that should be my answer. Okay, number 8 is almost identical. So because there's no addition or subtraction between the parentheses, this is a multiplication problem. So we're going to do the double distributive property, or we'll multiply first, multiply by 2. And then multiply by negative 4i. Okay, then we're going to combine those i's. So negative 6i plus 20i should be 14i. And then 12i squared should just be minus 12. And then finally, we'll do negative 10 minus 12 is negative 22. And then we just bring our plus 14i down. All right. What does it mean to square something? Multiply it by itself. So that's exactly what we're going to do on number 9. We're going to take 6 minus 2i and multiply it by 6 minus 2i. So I'm going to let you guys try this one on your own. So you're going to have to distribute the 6, and then you're going to have to distribute the negative 2i. All right, so check your work with mine. How'd y'all do? Good. Okay, we're gonna do one more, and then you guys are gonna work on the back. So this one's got extra. It's a combination, like this part of it is going to be multiplication because there's no addition or subtraction between the parentheses, and a combination of multiplication and subtraction. So I'm going to start off on number 10, and I'm going to distribute 1. And then I'm going to distribute 7i. Right? And then because there's a minus sign in front of these parentheses, I'm going to distribute the negative. So this one has quite a bit going on. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. Now this might be a multi-step problem, but I can do 9 minus 4 is going to be 5. And then 3i plus 63i minus 2i is going to be 64i. And then what should 21i squared be? Good. All right. And then the last step is just do 5 minus 21, which is negative 16. All right. So your assignment. Your assignment is the back. So if you look at the first 4, there's addition and subtraction between the parentheses. So those are addition and subtraction, not multiplication problems. Bless you. So multiplication starts with number 5. Now number 10 is really, really challenging. So you might want to save number 10 for last, and then go back and see if you can figure it out. I don't want it to stress you out. And then I'm also going to write the answers on the screen so you can check them. You do have to show your work on most of these, so just copy down the answers is not going to help. But just use the answers to check yourself. Yes.